אותו עצה וסופר, דבו דבו ולא יקום. אותו עצה וסופר, דבו דבו ולא יקום. דימנו ברך. אותו עצה וסופר, דבו דבו ולא יקום. דימנו ברך. אותו עצה וסופר, דבו דבו ולא יקום. אותו עצה וסופר, דבו דבו ולא יקום. דימנו ברך. אותו עצה וסופר, דבו דבו ולא יקום. דימנו ברך.
Take it away a little. Give us a little. Okay. Hey kids, what time is it?
Time to Hate Street.
It is time for Gezintahait Street. And tonight we have a story, believe it or not. And the story is about a king who came to a town with 3 ministers. There's a famous question. You know, when they dedicated the altar in the desert, the 12 princes, each one brought an offer for 12 days, an offering for 12 days. And the way it tells it in the Torah, that each offering was exactly the same thing. So the question is, why didn't the Torah just say the 12 princes brought 12 offerings, and this is what they brought? Instead, it repeats that on the first day, this prince brought this, and exactly the same wording. Second day, this prince. So Rashi says, even though the gifts were identical, each tribe's intention was unique for that tribe. The Rebbe tells us that Asher's offering, which was on the 11th day, and that's the Rebbe's birthday, reflects delight in the fact that Hashem chose the Jewish people. In that mimer that the Rebbe said on his birthday, the Rebbe told us a story from the Midrash, which illustrates this point. A king came to a city with 3 groups of dignitaries: chiefs, generals, and ministers. And each citizen chose to serve one royal dignitary. Each one chose to be in the camp of one of those 3 dignitaries in order to receive power, glory, and treasures. One clever guy chose the king, not one of the ministers. He said, why? The king is permanent. The other ministers are not permanent. A Rebbe asked, why does it take someone smart to choose a king? Even a little kid knows that the king is greater than his chiefs, generals, and ministers. What's more, the Rebbe says, what does the clever man mean, the smart guy mean, when he says that only the king is permanent? 2 questions.
What does he mean by that, Bitzali?
The Rebbe explains that having a relationship with the king does not come for free. It takes great effort, concentrated service, and self-nullification, and must be carried out with all of one's abilities in order to internalize his connection to the king. The answer to the Rebbe, so that's the answer to the first question. everybody knows that the king is but this guy chooses the king, even though he knows there's a whole bunch of work involved with it. The answer to the Rebbe's second question, what do you mean the king is permanent, comes by understanding the object of the metaphor. This thing of the king with the three ministers coming into the town, and each citizen chooses one of the ministers, one smart guy chooses the king, is a metaphor. And the object of the metaphor is that the other nations of the world choose to receive their flow of wealth and good fortune from the heavenly ministers. They serve the stars. They understand that the king, Hashem, is greater than the ministers. After all, even their gods call him the God of gods. But they serve the ministers. Why? They want the treasures that they can receive right now. The smart guy, the Jew, knows that by serving the king, his final gain will be everlasting. That's what it means. He chooses the king because he's permanent, while the others will be left with disappointment, decay, and death. But, the Rebbe says, free choice means picking between equals. In this case, both of them are serving for their own good. Apparently, there's no essential difference between the choice of the smart guy choosing the king. Why? Because in the end, he'll get more. And the choice made by the rest of the people, their gain is immediate. So both of them are getting a gain. Just the smart guy realizes finally his gain is going to be greater. So there's no free choice. They have a reason why they're choosing. So they're both apparently serving for ulterior motives. So how can this be considered a free choice? One guy chooses the king by the smart guy who chooses the king. However, the smart one really chooses the king not for any reward, even though he knows he's going to receive a greater portion eventually. His service and delight comes from linking to the inner will of the king. Whether receiving a small amount while his relationship to the king is still undeveloped, or when he'll receive an abundance at the time when his bond to the king will be completely revealed. So he knows he's going to get, but that's not the reason why he chooses the king. He chooses the king for the king himself. And to further clarify how the Jew chooses Hashem for Hashem and not for ulterior motives, the Rebbe tells a story that's told in the Siddur, what we call the Alter Rebbe Siddur. And that story is also about a king. And it happens coincidentally that it's written in the explanation of the Seder of Pesach, this story. The king made a banquet and he invited his favorite servants, his ministers, and important members of the court. The servants represent the lesser angels. The ministers represent the higher angels, while the important members of the court represent the divine emanations of the world of Atzilus. During the meal, the dogs received a whole bunch, the discarded bones and meat waste that was thrown under the table. The waiters and cooks received large portions of leftovers, but it's obviously not the king's intention to lay out so much money to feed the dogs and the kitchen staff. Instead, the king's intention was to feed the invited guests and important members of the court. The dogs represent the creatures of this physical world, who are unaware of the king, Hashem, or his greatness. They just want more. Give me, give me. They just always want more and more for themselves. The wait staff represents those who obey the king out of fear of punishment. The favored servants, the ministers, and important members of the court serve through whatever level of realization of the king's greatness they have achieved. These levels parallel the three kinds of ministers that entered the town with the king. in the story that we told. A Jew, the Rebbe says, forgoes all these levels, even the highest revelations of godliness, because he's a smart guy who has chosen the king himself and not revelation. And this is reflected in the Alter Rebbe's famous cry. What did the Alter Rebbe say? I don't want your Gan Eden. I don't want your reward in the world to come. I only want you. Why does he only want Hashem? Because the essence of his soul is a piece of Hashem. And why does he have to be smart to choose the path to revealing that bond? Why does he have to be smart? If the essence of his soul is a piece of Hashem, so like a kid loves a father, he doesn't have to have a reason. He doesn't have to be smart to choose his father. But since a clever person's connection to Hashem, inner desire, he too must use his internal powers to make the connection. The internal powers meaning intellect and emotions, involving Chabad, intellect, and emotions, and ultimately his thoughts, speech, and action, so that they're all invested in the physical body. And why? Because Hashem chose a Jew, body and soul. So in order for that connection to be manifest, it needs not just to be the connection, the soul is a piece of Hashem, and that's why I only want Hashem. The body also has to make that choice. Chassidus is a feast of Levi Yosem. Everybody here heard of the Chassidus Levi Yosem?
Yeah, that's the big fishy, yeah?
When Mashiach comes, Hashem is going to make a big joust between a huge fish that's wrapped around all the continents and a huge ox that eats up 3,000 mountains every day.
That's a hungry ox.
And when they're finished fighting, we're going to enjoy a meal of them. And don't be satisfied with the meal on the menu, this story that I just told you. Turn to the mimer itself. You can find it in English at a website called Simply Chassidus. Shuit. Shuit indicates chachma, wisdom. Taste it. Taste indicates bina, understanding. And swallow it, das. And be nourished by it, emotions. And be enlivened by it, thought, speech, and action. As Gezintahait. We want Mashiach now.
That's right, Leib. The only true peace is a piece of Hashem. How are you doing?
What about the Alter Rebbe's, I want you a line? That's like, oh, that song?
Yeah. What key? Well, yeah, I think it's lower than that. No, we can do like that. Okay, ready? Ich will nicht gehen, wo mir so jagen. Ich will nicht gehen, wo mir so jagen. Ich will dir ich will nicht gehen, wo mir so jagen. Ich will nicht gehen, wo mir so jagen. Ich will yeah.
You knew that song already? Wow.
What do you mean? He's like, Gezintahait for you.
I don't know.
How did you come up
I
with
don't
it?
know.
Mendel has songs on Spotify. This is one of them. So that's what
Maybe
those.
that's one.
That's the Tnuah of Moshe Marazov. That means the movement of Moshe Marazov. And this is why it's very moving too. And but this is because Betzalel was talking about this thing of, like the Alter Rebbe said, I don't want your upper worlds, not your lower worlds. I want only you alone, Hashem. That's what the song means. Betzalel, do you have a paper copy of this? I can't see the screen.
You can't, what, make it big enough?
No, I just it's the way the lights are and stuff, and it's dark. And it can't
also-
read nothing.
You forgot his glasses too.
Yeah, I forgot my blue screen. I'm very. Hey, listen, Leib, I'm very mitted. You know, I'm very mitted. You know, like when someone a model is, oh, he's mitted.
You're very minute.
Mitted, yeah, I'm very mitted. Anyways, okay, so I'm gonna read about this Chassidus, and then Betzalel will help us understand it here. And we did. What were we talking about before?
We had
this?
it last week.
Yeah, it's from
It's
last
just going over from last week.
Yeah. Okay. So with this, we will answer the question of the philosophers. What was the questions of the philosophers? Remember them?
Number one,
What was
how,
them?
number
How can
one,
something finite come from something?
how can an infinite thing make a finite?
Yeah.
Good job. What,
And two,
and once it makes such a
How
finite
is it
thing.
not
not, how is it unchanged?
Yes, that's right. I'm Betzalel, we're getting somewhere here.
Somewhere.
Somewhere.
Where it is, we don't know, but it's somewhere.
Hey, water hitting the stone.
Actually, it's not true. Leib, really, we are somewhere already. We're trying to get nowhere.
I once asked a guy to do me a favor and take my car and do an errand. And when he turned on the car, I walked over and I said, "Do you know where you are?" And he goes, "Yeah, here."
Well, he wasn't lying, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So we can understand the answer to these two questions. Because there is no change in Hashem from before the creation to after the creation. Why? Because like we said before, everything is done to a ray. In other words, just like we said, remember the ray of the sun, right? The sun doesn't change because of the ray, right? And just like it doesn't, what's the other one? It doesn't also the flame, right? We had the what was it? The flame, the ray of the candle, yeah, also. So even though there is a light and a ray which is drawn down to the void, because the whole existence of the ray is from the essence of the light, meaning let me sagen as they leib. If the sun goes poof, the ray goes poof. There's no ray without the sun. Only in this case, the sun is able to, he can't go poof because he's unpoofable, right? And unless he wants to poof, then he can go poof anytime he wants.
Right.
Can't go poop.
Oh, if he wants to, he can.
No, he can't.
It's
possible
Koyach.
to
He can do
cease to exist.
anything he wants.
Yeah, but
Can't
he
cease
can.
to
Koyach.
exist.
Yeah, but he can do
Oh,
anything. It's
yochel.
called yochel. He can do anything.
Yo-ho.
He can not exist and exist at the
Yo-
same time.
He must. You can do Hester Punim, doesn't mean he cannot exist.
That's down here what he does, but he can do anything.
He can make himself not exist.
I know because
I know it doesn't make sense.
it's Mr. Rogers told the Abishter, you can be
That's for
anything
fun.
you want to be.
I hear she's looking.
Anyways, I know it doesn't make sense.
Hester,
I know, but you
Helen-
don't.
Helen
The
and
idea is it doesn't. You're right. It doesn't make sense to our sense because we can't understand the Abishter. But the Abishter can do it because he can do everything, so he can do it.
I don't want to.
Anyways, we'll discuss later. Let's go back on topic. So even though there's a light and a ray which comes down to the void, right? Why? Because the whole existence of the ray is from the essence of the light, but the essence of the light
So the essence of
is
the
not
light,
in the ray. It's not in the ray.
the essence of the light in our metaphor
Yeah.
will be like the flame of the sun. So in the flame of the sun, there is no ray, but the ray comes from the flame of the sun.
Right. So this is why he can do other actions at the same time, right? Just like the sun can shine on lots of things in one time, right? Yeah, to emanate hundreds of millions of worlds, if that is what his desires. Only what did he desire? He desired the worlds to exist in their number that they existed. That's how he wanted it. And the proof is that what? Is that even as things exist now, we see that Hashem can do two opposites at once. Like, for example, at midnight, he did two things. He cured the Jewish people, right, when they was coming out of Egypt. You remember that, Lee? Or you too young, maybe.
From the bris, they had a bris.
Yeah, they had a bris,
cured them from the
and he
bris.
cured them. And
And he whacked
and
the
he
Egyptians.
smashed them.
Yeah.
He smashed the Egyptians, exactly. And he did it at the same time, even though the opposite things. Yeah. Right? Because a ray of the sun.
I just want to share with you, there's a midrash
Yeah.
that said when the Jews smelled the Korban Pesach of Moshe Rabbeinu, they ran to him and they said, give us a taste of that. And he said, I can't, because you don't have a bris. And they took out their swords and each one gave himself a bris so he can get a taste of that Korban Pesach.
That's heavy duty.
It's in the midrash.
Anyways, and a taste of the Korban Pesach they got. Anyways.
Gulp.
Yeah, anyways, so even though he's causing the action of the ray, at the same time, he is also completely separate and removed from this ray. Right? Meaning that he doesn't change from it. He is before, just like before the ray and after the ray comes out. Right? Like, for example, when you see someone in a telescope, they don't change because you're looking at them. Right? They stay the same. It doesn't affect them that you're looking at them. Right? And not only that, if 5 people will look at them in a telescope, it's still no difference. And it doesn't affect them. Therefore, the one who projects the ray can be doing other things at the same time because he's not affected by it. So, like this, we can understand that with all the many effects that the ray has on the one that projects it, right?
The effect isn't on the one.
Right, there's no effect on the one who projects it. It doesn't change and remains separate from all of the actions that he does. So the Hashem remains. He doesn't change no matter how many actions he does at the same time.
I'm wondering if it's a good metaphor of an actor in a movie. Even though the actor in the movie is doing a whole bunch of stuff, he's sitting at home, he never changed. It's him at home. Even though he's in the movie, he's doing all kinds of stuff. I don't know. It's a good metaphor.
This could be. We'll have to think about it.
Not only that, but think about this. People are watching us.
Yeah.
Really?
Look at that. The question, Lee, is if it changes us or not. Anyways.
How many people are watching you here?
3.
Okay, doesn't change. I'm not changing.
Hallelujah.
Color me unfazed.
Okay, so now, answer to the first question, right? This is the answer to the first question. What was the first question? How could it be that an unlimited thing is created by unlimited? That the creation is done through a contraction and a hiding of the unlimited thing, which causes what? A gap or a jump from the unlimited to allow a completely new flow, which is a limited flow, which is the reflected light.
So I think he's telling us a new thing here. Up till now, the way we understood that the ray that comes out of the sun is a direct flow. But I think he's telling us that the sun here itself is dark, like a lightning comes out from the dark. The source isn't connected apparently to the lightning.
Like you can't see how, the void, it's not like a progression. It's just all of a sudden.
It's not an outflow.
Right. All of a sudden, Bereshis bara Elokim, poof.
It's a flash. like
Yeah.
a Barakamabra.
Yeah. Like jumping Yankel Flash. And this is not now. So this we're talking about so far, right? We're talking about the mashal, the allegory of the sun and the candle. But this is different than the actor in the act, right? Actor in the act. Remember, like when somebody throws the stone, but you can't see, even if you can't see the one who throws it, there's still someone throwing it. Yeah. So, but this is different than this. Why? Because every act is limited, right? Because both the actor and the act, this person can throw one stain, right? It can only be it can only be stoned on one thing. You can only throw one stone. However, the stone also is limited, right? The stone is limited itself, right? Like if you throw a stone, are you limited? And what's the stone? Also limited, yeah. I'm not saying you should go throw stones around. I'm just giving a marshal.
Especially not from Valsassus.
Right. But on high, so this is by a physical actor, like a rolling stone. This is like an actor in the act, but on high, Hashem is infinite, not just in the limited sense of the infinite, right? Of meaning that of only infinite outspread, like the philosophers are thinking, but he's infinite in the way that he can hide and pull back that infinite expansion. So we have an Nigid? Let's have an Nigid.
Where's our,
What the Torah start?
Figure out Betzalel is gone, you should have it.
let's do our Father, our King.
Okay, ready?
Nope.
Which one? Oh, Tati, our King, why don't you do a good thing? And
Please
return with your people, and the angels all sing, oh glorious King, won't you please return with your people? They made you a crown, won't you come back to town? And please return with your people. Oh, Takia, you know it don't mean a thing unless you please return with your people. Yes, boogie, boogie. שיבנה ביס המקדש במהרה בימינו, שאת חלקנו בשערותיך. שיבנה ביס המקדש במהרה בימינו, ושאת חלקנו בשערותיך. שיבנה ביס המקדש במהרה בימינו, שאת 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 חלקנו בשערותיך. It's something that us I love in your bed, think they'll get on the same I said. Shame on them, it's something that us I love in your bed, think they'll get on the same I said. Shame on them, it's something that us I love in your bed, think they'll get on the same I said. שיבנה ביס המקדש במהרה בימינו, sing with Elokeinu ובשערותיך. They'll play, boys.
Why don't you do a good thing? And please return with your people. And the angels all sing, oh glorious King, won't you please come back with your people? They made you a crown. Won't you come back to town? And please return with your people. Oh, Tati, our king, you know it don't mean nothing unless you please return with your people.
That's right.
Now hit that face of Migdash.
Boogie, boogie.
Just me or getting deja vu?
Hey, shape of Memphis. Hey, shape of Memphis. Okay, so now,
Pokey, pokey, Rocky.
now, like we said, that's right. What was that one? The Rocky and the Sheikh and Shura Barwinkle.
Bullwinkle's a kosher.
Anyways,
Don't let him.
Could be worse.
could be worse. Okay, anyway,
You can have a cow.
on high, since Hashem is infinite, like we said, right? So he's not, in other words, not like the philosophers thought, right? That he's in the limited sense of infinite, like they think, right? That since he's infinite, he can only spread out infinite, like they're thinking. No, but rather Hashem is infinite, even in the sense that he can make something infinite, he can hide and pull back that infinite expression and make it something finite. Because this is not too infinite. Because he's called Yochel, he can do everything. Fragi.
He's called Yochel.
Fragi, he's called
Oh,
Yochel.
that's right. He do anything.
Yeah. He can love
He do
me.
nothing.
He can love me and you at the same time with his whole heart.
That's a hard
You
thing
know,
to do.
Dad.
But he can do it if you want to.
Yes.
There's a famous question.
Yeah.
Could he make a stone he couldn't pick up? So the Rebbe says, yeah, he can make a stone he couldn't pick up, and then he can pick it up.
Yeah, that's
So
like
how do I understand that? What's a stone that Hashem can't pick up? He can't do a mitzvah
that's right.
down here in this.
Because he
physical
made it
world.
so.
But what? He picks it up. How? Because his children, which is him, the child is the father, is able to do the mitzvah down here. So Hashem gets the mitzvah that he couldn't pick up.
Yeah, you know, it's like the irresistible force. You know what that is, lady? The irresistible force was it's a special design feature in every kapota, right by the buttons. I don't care how hard you sew those buttons on you one sneeze and poof, they're coming in somebody's eyeball. Anyways, but back to this. So understanding this will allow us to grasp the unity of Hashem.
Which reminds me, there's a story about
Yeah.
Yitzhak the button.
Oh, Yitzchak Kaftoira, the button.
Yitzhak the Torah. Okay, go ahead.
Well, we should hear that story. But let's finish this part.
You ever heard the story of Yitzhak the button?
Sounds familiar, but.
The dream, I heard about his dream.
He had a dream, yeah.
He had a dream.
dream.
You know, and he was imagine all the Jewish people. A different song. Anyway, so understanding this will allow us to grasp the unity of Hashem with the light that fills all of the worlds, which by definition is limited to the world, And the creatures, it's enlivening, right? Because the light that fills all the world, the molecule almin, it is limited. It goes only into each vessel the way each that vessel can
You
handle.
can't have a 10,000 watts in a 100-watt light bulb.
Yes, it would go banger stickle.
Banger stick.
Yeah.
That
Just
sounds
a
like a
stick.
good name for a song.
Yeah, banger. They're even a band. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, new to Woodstock. Banger stickle. Okay, so nevertheless, the light is only limited by the one who emanates that limited flow, who is infinite. In other words, it's not that the infinite, that the light, the molecule almin is limited because it's limited. It's limited because Hashem, who emanates that light, makes it so. It is him that hides himself, because only he can hide himself, to allow, to bring out the limited revelation. Therefore, the infilling lights, right, the molecule almin, these lights, the filling lights, the real being is really the essence of the light itself, because really the light is also Hashem. But he, since he's so infinite, he can be infinite, or he can hide himself and make himself finite.
It's Kol Yochel.
Kol Yochel. Yes, that's right.
You can say that again.
You can say that again.
Kol Yochel.
Square. And this is the third explanation of nothing to something. That first is the ray is non-existent.
That's the first nothing.
Yeah, the first.
There is no ray in the flame.
Right. So in other words, in the flame of the sun, there's no ray of the sun.
So there's no infinite light inside of the infinite one.
Yeah. So that's the first kind of nothing to something. The second kind of nothing to something is the ray itself. Because the ray, right, it is a ray of infinite light, and it must be completely hidden and contracted to allow for to go into limited vessels. Yeah,
Good.
that's the second one. The third thing, the third kind of something of nothing to something is the limited existence is from the true thing, right? The ineffable, ungraspable nothing of Hashem himself, that no thought can grasp him, even the highest and supernal emanations, right? Even they can't grasp him.
Even the Chachma Hakaduma of Adam Kadmon
Can't grasp his
has
atmos,
no
his essence.
understanding of Hashem himself.
And in
So when you call Hashem an existence, and you had a problem with that, that level of Hashem, when you're calling an existence, is only what the other existences come out from. But Hashem in himself cannot be grasped at all.
Right.
You can't call him an existence.
yeah, and in the final analysis, it is he, with a big H, he himself, who creates and enlivens the creations. And that is the meaning of Havaya, who Elokim, Havaya, he is Elokim. What does this mean? Havaya indicates, right, Hashem himself. Havaya is Yud Kei Vav Kei, right? The name of Hashem with the Yud, a Hey, and a Vav and a Hey. Okay, so this is the Shem Havaya. So this indicates Hashem himself and his infinite
Higher than
being.
space and time.
Yeah, before space and time, his infinite being and his all-encompassing ability. While Elohim indicates the level where he hides himself.
He follows the laws of nature, in other words.
He follows the laws that he himself made. In order to separate, to allow for a separate creation, but really, this Havaya, it's Hashem in himself, and this Elohim, where he's hiding himself, it's not a different himself. And it's not a different thing or a new thing. It is one, like Shema Yisrael, hear all. Hear all Fragi, hear all Israel, Hashem Elohim.
No, it's understand.
Hashem and Elohim and our Elohim is the same. Hashem Echad, it is one. Up to here, this is the metaphor of the sun and its ray. However, you know how it works with metaphors, labor. What happens when you get one metaphor for the Eibishter?
It's not good enough.
Oh, it's not good enough. You got it.
There is no physical metaphor that will capture all the angles of the godly action.
I'm telling you, Mo, he's smarter than he looks, this one. He catches everything you say. Yeah, that's why, Mo, you have to be so careful when you say things around children, Anyways, so you need another one. It's right, babe. You said it. So the metaphor of the sun and its ray is not sufficient to fully explain the light which fills the void, the molecule element. Right? The creation and enlivenment of something from nothing. So there's three more mashalim, metaphors that is necessary in order to explain this. One is the light of a candle, right? That's another metaphor. Another one is how the soul enlivens the body, right? And the third one is the power of an actor in the act. I did that for effect. Okay. So as we said here,
The power and the actor of the act, just to understand what he's talking about. The planets are all spinning around, and you could convince yourself that nobody is in control of it. It's a coincidence. So that shows you the power of the actor and act, like the guy who throws the stone. The whole arc of the stone, the speed of the stone, and where the stone lands is according to the guy who threw it. So too, those spinning around planets and stars. It's Hashem that's juggling them and making them be exactly in the position. And what runs the planets and the stars is a certain kind of angels called real angels.
you mean real like fake angels and real angels, or you mean like wheel like a wheel?
Turning around.
Oh, like turning.
And why are they real
Real,
angels? Because they're constantly bowing down to Hashem. And in their bowing, they keep bowing. They never stop bowing, so they become like a wheel. And that gives the spiritual energy for the whole universe, the stars and planets, to spin. And it looks like there's no Hashem behind it. It's some angel doing somersaults. But really, it's the act, power of the actor and the act. It's really Hashem that's making the whole scenario happen.
So we see that the light of the sun only shines on the earth and does not penetrate, right, to combine with the four. Which one?
Yeah,
The Ifanim, yeah. Yeah, the somersaulters. Anyways.
In Hebrew is Ophanayim.
Yeah, Ophanayim, that's right. Oh, nice. We see that the light of the sun only shines on the earth, but it does not actually penetrate and combine with the four categories.
So
right?
he's explaining the limitation of the metaphor of
metaphor.
the sun and the
In other
ray.
words, he's saying why, like Lee said, why it's not good enough. We need another one.
Right.
Okay.
It's because the sun can make a life.
Doesn't enliven them. So you
It
need
just like
another
extends it.
metaphor, which is what?
Which
How
is
the candle.
The soul and
The
the
soul.
bottom. Soul on the bottom.
Okay.
Sorry.
Close. We're getting there. So this is because, as the Rambam says, that the stars are spiritual bodies which have no taste or smell. Right? They are a fifth category of creation, separate from those four categories. And since the sun is
What are the four categories?
the four is yeah, you know, it's like a stone, like daimim, like a still life, like a still life.
Inorganic.
Yeah, inorganic.
Inorganic.
Yeah, like the stuff they sell at Trader Joe's. It's inorganic.
No, it's organic.
Oh, sorry, that's organic. Flora, right?
Soya.
Growing stuff.
Yeah, growing stuff. Fauna,
Hi,
Walking animal.
walking, and people.
Medaber.
Medaber, speaking creations.
So hold on, let's ask Akasha if somebody's watching this. What do you mean that the stars are made of gases and there's gravity's pulling it all together, causing basically a nuclear reaction to go off?
That's just the body of the star, not the soul.
Oh, okay, that's the answer to the first
There you go.
question.
This is because, like the Rambam says, that the stars are spiritual bodies which have no taste or smell. They are a fifth category of creation, right? And therefore, what can they not do? That's why they don't combine. They can't come down. The soul from the sun can't come down into a thing down on the earth and enliven it. Those spiritual bodies emit physical light, right? What we perceive as light. But the light is only called physical in comparison to itself, but it is spiritual compared to the four categories of creatures. And therefore, it does not combine with them. That's why it can't go and become unified with them to enliven them. And through its shine and power, though, you can see them with your sight. You can look and you can see that it's there. So the ray of the sun shines from up to down. A dynamic called the straight light. A straight light. What does this mean, Bezalel? Straight light. Why it's called straight light?
Well, like if, for example, if I'm looking for something, I turn on a flashlight. So the light starts from the flashlight and it hits the thing I'm looking for.
It's a straight one shot light source. Okay.
However,
not so the light of a candle, which is drawn from the fire element, right? Which is one of the elements of the physical world, right?
That's what I was wondering. I think the four things might not be what you were saying. The four things might be
meaning they don't
fire.
Meaning
That's what I said, fire, earth,
meaning it
air,
doesn't connect with the
again,
elements.
water.
So meaning it doesn't connect with the element, the four elements.
The Kasha, the resident
No,
scientist
the fire element is one of the four,
in the audience.
but it's the most spiritual of the four.
Yeah.
And therefore, itself, when you look at the moon, you don't see under the moon fire, even though the fire element has a seat under the moon, because it can't combine with the other elements until it comes down into the coarsest place, which is inorganic, which is a flintstone.
Yeah.
And then it can combine with
The footstones?
it can combine with oil or wood, which is growing stuff.
Yeah. And not only that, but according to how much oil there is how long the light will shine. Why? Because it combines with it, Bezalel. So it needs what to combine with. So that's why it only shines as long as there's oil there to combine with.
So,
Right.
Okay, and this light is a different kind of light. That's a different kind of light. I just said a different kind of light. So this is a different kind of light. It's called a rebounding light or a returning light in Eure Chayzer, a returning light. Bezalel,
Like when you do a mitzvah, Ner mitzvah, the candle is a mitzvah. That's a rebounding light that gives Hashem nachas.
Yeah.
The straight light is the light that he shines down. But this light of a candle is the rebounding light that combines into the world to shine up, that gives nachas to Hashem. That's called the or choser, the rebounding light.
Yeah.
And that's what the candle encompasses, as opposed to the sun.
But
Even though the sun is much bigger and much more powerful, but in the way the candle is more powerful because it has the ability to give Hashem nachas.
But even so, both are only light and do not enliven the creations. We'll talk about that. But first, Leib, Annikin.
Stretch him out, Leib.
all right.
It's
one of his own
on
fucking
the
words.
email, man.
All right, yeah, it's time for Paul Tova.
Yo.
It's in the sun, Chester.
Yeah. Ay, la, 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 roy, la, roy. Ay, 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 Nice, well played, boys. You guys need a fire extinguisher.
Gemilov, I have a question for you. 3,000 years, how do you get so strong vocal cords?
Oh, you should have heard me back then.
Should've.
Go mogul.
Oh.
He thinks a go mogul.
Goggle Muggle, isn't that the war before Mashiach comes? Goggle
That's
Muggle?
Gog.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Right, different thing.
I confuse those all
That's
the
a made
time.
with milk.
Betzalel, I eat a plum.
Tell me here.
Anyways, so the life of a body from a soul through its flow into the limbs of the body is different. Why? Because like we said before, that both the light of the sun and also the light of the candle, they both only light, they don't enliven the thing they hit. They can enliven the thing they hit, but they can't enliven it. But the life of a body from a soul, it goes into the limbs and it actually enlivens that body and it enlivens those limbs. Light does not unify with that it shines on. Like in a candle, like it illuminates a room, it doesn't make any actual change in the physicality of the room. And the light does not change from its spirituality. So this manifestation of energy is only a shining in the room. In other words, it can reveal what's in the room, but it doesn't actually change what's in the room. But not so when a soul enlivens a body, that the soul actually unifies with the limbs of the body. In each one according to its particular function, right? It makes the hand move like a hand, and a foot like a foot, and a nose to smell, and an eye to see, etc., etc.
So I just want to point out that it's Hashem that's doing both actions.
meaning he's being also a light.
The reason why we have a metaphor of a soul and a body, because that's how Hashem enlivens everything.
Right.
And the reason why we have a metaphor of a sun and a ray, because that's how Hashem is able to do everything without changing. But it's both Hashem.
So let me
doing-
see, Betzalel, if I'm understanding you right. It's because Hashem has the qualities that no thing has that we can understand. So we have to take different one just to explain one element and a
Right.
different one. So there, in Hashem, there's both of these elements. It also
And-
shines on,
right.
on things, and it also enlivens everything like it.
Correct.
Okay.
It's Hashem that's doing both, correct.
So we need, but that's why we need both, because each metaphor
Both, I
cannot
understand.
encompass the greatness of what
But
Hashem is.
each one does not.
Also, in Hashem, it's not like it's for, I mean, I want to be old school according to Ramchal, but it's not like there's a different, God has a different power of enlivening, a different power of lights.
Well, Hashem is a simple light, yes.
It's the same exact thing. Like in us, we have a memory and we have a will and we have a.
Well, but even in us, ultimately in our neshama, it's not a separate thing. So this is a whole different muscle we're getting into.
I'm saying,
I like that muscle.
as impossible as unto understand, it's all the same thing with God.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's right. Yeah.
Kol Yachol.
Kol Yochel. Say it again.
One more time for people in back.
Okay. So, anyways, where are we here?
Morty.
And the light, right? So the light that of the life that comes into the limbs in each one, right? Each one according to its function, right? Which is not the same as the outside. For example, the light of the sun just shines. It doesn't. The light of the sun not going to shine. Oh wait, I'm shining on Leib. Let me shine differently. Oh, I'm shining on Mordechai. Let me shine a little differently. No, the light just shines as a. But not like the soul, like the soul that comes to the body, and in the body it enlivens every single limb in its own way, the way that limb needs, and according to what it can handle. So now, moving on to
Like the toes don't smell.
yeah, my toes do. But anyways, you never smelled my toes. They smell. Okay. Anyways,
You walked into that.
That's why I said.
well, he walked into it purposely.
I know.
So anyways, so now moving on to the metaphor of the power potential, right, of the actor in the act. Yes, actor in the act. Not
Why do we need that? Once we have.
right. Once we have that one with the light, so we understand why. So now we understand why we need also light and also why we need show, but why we also need this thing of the actor in the act, right? Because the level of enlivenment, even though it's felt in the particular limbs, nevertheless it is a simple life, and the way that the limbs grasp that life is simple. They feel alive from the soul that enlivens them, right? In other words, your toes are alive, and the nose is alive, and the toes are alive. The toes are alive, yeah, and the nose is alive, yeah. Anyways, so not so the particular. The nose is alive, yeah, the toes is alive. The fingers are me, oh, alive like a tree. Very good. I like that. How you just pulled that out was amazing. Not so the particular powers, like the power of movement in the hand, right, in which the general life is contracted to give power to the individual limb to perform its particular function, right? Because in the hand, it has to perform a certain thing it has to do. Or the power of intellect in the brain. Because if the power of thinking go into your hand, it's not going to work. If the power of movement go into your brain, you're going to need an advocate. And this particular power, they are manifest through outer vessels called caterpillars. No, capillaries.
Capillary.
What's a capillary?
Capillary.
It's a little blood vessel
It's a
that goes
vessel.
into the muscle.
It's a vessel.
Right.
What's a vessel?
The vessels that help.
It
move
allows
things.
for the
Blood.
transfer flow of blood from one area to the different
In
area.
other words, the blood has a general life. And when that blood goes into the capillaries, it takes the power of movement into the hand and the power of seeing into the eye.
So that's an outer vessel. but there's also an inner vessel, right? Because that's like the
What's the inner
knives.
vessel? Take a guess.
The
Heart.
The inner vessel of enlightenment.
Bitzalel, I'm not sure, but it's giving me a lot of knives,
It's
not
the
knowing.
blood.
Bitzalel is giving me a lot of knives, not knowing.
The inner vessel is the nervous system.
Bitzalel, I don't know what it is, but it's giving me a lot of knives that I can't remember what
You're
it
getting
is.
knives.
Yeah, so this is the knives that is
Hey,
pumping.
you started making me nervous.
The pumping vessels, the veins and the arteries,
That's the middle ones.
which carry only the general life, but not the particular life. So you have a general life force that's coming down to enliven, and a particular one. The indressing of the soul in the blood is in general a power, right? The power of the actor in the act, which is in the general hidden power to measure out the particular powers which become revealed, right? Because like it says, the blood is the
Soul.
soul. Very
Soul,
good.
yeah.
We have a middle.
The
He's
dam
good.
is
Remember.
the nefesh.
Well, it also means it's light. It's also the same thing. Adam or nefesh can alternatively be called Adam.
Nefesh is
Yeah,
light.
that's why when you lose your blood, enough blood, then when you're like, wait, get back here. No good. Anyways,
You
yeah.
can't consume it from animals.
So Adam or nefesh. Adam is but the reason that the blood is the life is because that is the seat of it's a seat of a vessel for the soul in the body. Anyways, so this is the power of the active in the act, with the general power to measure out particular powers, which will then become revealed, right? The blood is the soul. That soul in the blood is called nefesh, right? And its seat is in the liver area. Not so in the spirit of life called ruach, right? This is the ruach chaim. That the level of enlivenment is as opposed to the power of the actor in the act. So how does this mean? Explain it a little bit better to me.
Well, I think the power in the actor of the act, he wants the general thing of the soul, and the blood goes into the individual vessel. But how it is in the heart, the level of the spirit, is the life of the body. That's the pumping of the heart that gives life to the body through the.
In other words, that's the general power, and then from there, this allows it to go into these particular powers.
Well, I'm not sure. I think the general power is in the blood. But the livenment, that's from the heart.
It's coming
That's
out.
the pumping of the heart that gives the life into the blood.
Okay, good.
And then the blood goes into the particular. So the blood is the power
We'll
of the
carry
actor
it into
and the act, and the heart is the soul that enlivens.
Okay, got
And
it.
it's called the spirit, the ruach.
Yeah, and this is called the ruach, the spirit. And then there is the highest level of the soul in the body, because there's actually two more levels, but these levels is not in the body. It's because the soul, not the whole thing goes in the body. Is called
Neshama.
yes,
Hey!
yes,
Hey!
it's called neshama. That's okay.
Yeah, good money on this.
Yeah, and this is called light. In other words, if you know this goes along with the metaphors we have, right? The nefesh and the ruach and the shama, they correspond to different ones of these metaphors.
Light will be like the
And
light
light,
of the sun.
Yeah, it will be, but it's an inner light, like the candle,
And the heart will
and
be
then
like
there's the
the
surrounding light,
which is the
which is
ruach.
the chaya, which is higher than that, which is like the light of the sun. So we see that the metaphor of the soul enlivening the body really contains the godly action being explained by all three metaphors. But in how the soul enlivens the act.
Chayos and koach. Those are
Right.
the three metaphors.
So if that's the
Light,
case,
life, and potential.
yeah. So if that's the case, if this is such a good metaphor, why do we need the other ones? Because in how the soul enlivens the body, right? The metaphor of light, it's wait, what's hidden? Which one is hidden? Let me do this
The
together.
metaphor of light
Yeah.
is hidden in how the soul enlivens the body.
Yeah. Oh, so that's why we explain it with the sun and a candle, because it's a revealed thing and we can see it.
Correct.
Okay.
But
and-
really, it's included in life and enlivenment. So I just want to, Gimel Ella.
yeah.
Maybe you'll be able to include an appeal next
Oh,
week.
yes.
Next week, whoever is searching for us ain't going to find us. You know why? Because next week, Thursday night, you're going to be searching for your hummus. And hopefully you won't find any except for the 10 pieces.
No, not.
And we're going to be searching for our chametz. So therefore, don't search for us next week. Search inside of yourself.
That's a good appeal, Bezalel. Oh, and one more thing. My dear friends, do you want to feel true freedom? It's not bad, not a bad punchline, no? Do you want to feel true freedom?
This sounds like the beginning of an infomercial.
Let me tell, yes, it is. It is. It's actually exactly what it is. If you want to feel true freedom, let me tell you, my friend.
What's the secret to feeling true freedom?
I'm glad you asked, lady. I'm glad you asked. Well, I'll tell you. You see, when Hashem takes, on Pesach, Hashem took the Jews out of Egypt. But that's not only what he did. He did it again every year. And this year, just like every other year, he's going to take us out of Egypt, which the word for Egypt in Hebrew, Mitzrayim, comes from Metzorah, boundaries, meaning that through Pesach, you can get removed from your boundaries. You can have true freedom. And all you got to do is very simple. My fellow dear Jews, make sure you get matzah. You get shmura matzah for the Seder. If you don't know how to get it, you go look on Chabad.org, Chabad.org. Look up your nearest Chabad house or Shaliach or rabbi. They have a whole list. They have a special directory of rabbis all around the world. If you're watching from Germany, there's someone to bring you matzah there. If you're watching from Eretz Yisrael, if you're watching from Chattanooga, Tennessee, there's shluchim in all those places. In Ukraine and in Russia also, everywhere there's shluchim to bring you matzah. Go make sure you get matzah and eat a matzah, make a bracha, eat a matzah on Pesach so that you can be free. All right, let's do something, right? וחגך והויסה שמח ושמחת בחגך והויסה שמח Metzorah geyatonu, beis avadim bedisonu. Metzorah geyatonu, beis avadim bedisonu. Metzorah, hey, Metzorah geyatonu, beis avadim bedisonu. Metzorah, hey, Metzorah geyatonu, beis avadim bedisonu. Metzorah, hey, Metzorah. Hey, Mitzrayim, yeah, I don't know. It's not all the baby son of Mitzrayim. I need Mitzrayim. Yeah, I don't know. It's not all the baby son of Mitzrayim. I need Mitzrayim. All right. You hit that G, Lane. Yeah. Hey, where's the G? Where's that G? Ah, there you go. Yay! Woo! How do I turn this off?